The fairy tale is dead. We were sold a lie wrapped in silk and smiles, but tonight the mask hasn't just slipped, it has been shattered into 1,000 jagged pieces. If you think you know what's happening behind palace gates, think again, because the real story is so much darker. Before we expose the deception that could bring down the entire monarchy, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. You are not going to want to miss a second of what's coming next. For years, the narrative was perfect. The outsider, the prince, the escape. It was almost too perfect, wasn't it? Like a script written in Hollywood rather than a life lived in Windsor. We watched them wave from balconies, we watched them hold hands in interviews, and we watched them tell us over and over that they were the victims. But while the world was distracted by the tears and the carefully curated documentaries, something else was happening in the shadows. Something cold, something calculated. And now the cracks in that foundation are widening into a chasm that threatens to swallow them whole. Why now? That is the question keeping aides awake at Buckingham Palace. Why, after months of relative silence, is the noise suddenly deafening? It isn't a coincidence. In the world of the royal family, there are no coincidences, only strategies. Look at the timing. Look at the seemingly innocent press releases dropping at 2 a.m. Look at who is suddenly being photographed, and more importantly, who is disappearing from view. The machinery is moving, the gears are grinding, and usually when the palace machinery moves this fast, it means one thing: damage control for a catastrophe that has already happened, one we just haven't seen yet. They want you to look at the headlines about charity work and new ventures. They want you to focus on the glossy magazine covers. But that is the distraction. The real story is buried in the silence. It's in the cancelled appearances. It's in the frozen smiles of family members who used to be close. It's in the sudden sharp distance between brothers who once shared a soul. You don't sever a bond like that over a disagreement. You sever it over a betrayal. A betrayal so deep, so fundamental, that it cannot be spoken of in public, only whispered in the terrified corridors of power. Sources, and we are talking about people who have walked those red carpets and sat at those dinner tables, are whispering about a specific date, a specific weekend where everything changed. They say the shouting wasn't just loud, it was primal. They say documents were thrown. They say an ultimatum was delivered that left one person shaking and another stone-cold silent. We aren't just talking about a family argument here. We are talking about a transactional shift. The moment love stopped being the currency and leverage took its place. Imagine the scene, a room filled with centuries of history, portraits of ancestors staring down from the walls. And in the center of it, a confrontation that feels less like a family meeting and more like a hostage negotiation. The air is thick enough to choke on. The accusations aren't about who said what to the press anymore. They are about loyalty, about truth, about money. The word survival is being thrown around in encrypted chats tonight. Not physical survival, but reputation survival. The kind of survival that requires a sacrifice. And the terrifying question is, who has been chosen as the sacrifice? We've heard the rumors of a file, a dossier. For a long time it sounded like internet fiction, but recent movements suggest this dossier is very real, and it is very dangerous. Insiders claim it contains receipts, not just financial ones, but emotional ones. Timestamps, locations, contradictions that no amount of PR spin can smooth over. It's the kind of leverage that keeps people silent. Or, if you push them too far, the kind of leverage that makes them burn the house down. And right now, someone is standing there with a match, waiting for the wind to change. Think about the sudden shifts in alliances. People who were staunch defenders are suddenly issuing no comments. Allies are drifting away like smoke. Why? Because they know what's in the file. They know that standing too close to the epicenter when this bomb goes off means getting hit by the shrapnel. Self-preservation is the most powerful instinct in the world, and right now everyone is scrambling for a life vest. The loyalty tests have begun, and judging by the silence from certain corners, many are failing. There is a theory circulating in the deepest, most protected circles of royal commentary. It suggests that a deal was offered, a golden handshake to make the problem go away. A way to rewrite history, to let everyone save face, to let the fairy tale end with a quiet fade to black instead of a horror movie scream. But the problem with deals is that both sides have to trust each other. And trust. Trust left the building a long time ago. Now, it's just paranoia. It's looking at every phone call as a trap, every email as a leak, every handshake as a potential dagger in the back. And what about the one who gave up everything, the one who crossed the ocean, left the regiment, and abandoned the only life he ever knew? Reports describe a man isolated, a man who wakes up in a paradise that feels increasingly like a gilded cage. He looks at the horizon and wonders if the bridge he burned can ever be rebuilt. But the tragedy is, he might not even know the full extent of the game being played around him. He might be the pawn, thinking he is the king. That is the heartbreaking twist. To sacrifice your past for a future that was built on sand. Let's go deeper. Let's talk about the money. Because follow the money, and you always find the rot. There are questions being asked about funds, about foundations, about where the intake ends and the output begins. The scrutiny is ramping up. It's not just tabloids anymore. It's forensic accountants. It's legal eagles with sharp talons looking for a slip-up. One wrong decimal point, one undisclosed transfer, and the narrative of humanitarian flips instantly to hustler. And the public forgiveness for hustlers is non-existent when you are trading on a title you claim to despise. But the other side isn't sleeping either. The firm, the institution, they are playing the long game. They have survived wars, abdications, and scandals that would destroy lesser families. They don't react, they respond, and their response is usually cold, hard silence. But don't mistake silence for weakness. Silence is where they sharpen the knives. They are waiting for the mistake, the overreach, the moment the other side flies too close to the sun and melts their own wings. And insiders say that moment is imminent. They are watching the erratic behavior, the desperate grasp for relevance, and they are simply waiting to close the trap. There is a terrifying possibility that we are overlooking. What if the deception isn't about money or fame? What if it is about origin? About the very bloodline that justifies the titles? There are whispers of a suppressed report, a biological question mark that was glossed over in the haste of a wedding and a birth. If that thread is pulled, the entire tapestry unravels. We are talking about constitutional crises. We are talking about the legitimacy of succession. It sounds impossible, crazy even. But in a world where truth is stranger than fiction, impossible is just a word for hasn't been proven yet. The tension is manifesting physically. Look at the recent photos. Really look at them. The tension in the jaw, the eyes that don't quite match the smile, the way they stand together, not as a unit but as two people bracing for impact. Body language experts are having a field day pointing out the micro-expressions of fear, of resentment, of exhaustion. You can't fake peace when you are at war. And make no mistake, this is a war of attrition, a war of image, a war for the history books, and then the counter-move. The threat of a memoir part 2, or perhaps a diary. The ultimate weapon. If the palace has a dossier, the exiles have a voice, and they have shown they are not afraid to use it. The threat hangs over London like a storm cloud. If you reveal my secrets, I will burn your legacy. It is mutually assured destruction. Cold War tactics in a 21st century celebrity feud. But who blinks first? The institution with everything to lose, or the individuals with nothing left to gain but notoriety? There is a hidden player in this game, someone we haven't mentioned yet. A mediator, a lawyer, or perhaps a family member who has been playing both sides. The deep throat of the monarchy. Information is leaking from somewhere. It's too specific, too damaging to be guesses. Someone inside the inner circle is talking. Someone is feeding the beast. Is it revenge? Is it conscience? Or is it a power grab? The suspicion is turning family dinners into interrogations. Everyone is a suspect. And when everyone is a suspect, no one is safe. Let's talk about the children. The innocent bystanders in this clash of titans. They are the ultimate leverage, aren't they? Titles, security, heritage. All of it is being used as bargaining chips on a poker table. Give me this, or they never set foot on that soil again. Cut me off, and they will never know their grandfather. It is the cruelest part of the game, using the future to ransom the present, and history will judge them harshly for it. The legacy they are fighting for is being poisoned by the very fight itself. We are approaching a deadline, a contractual cliff edge. Deals are expiring. Content needs to be produced. The pressure to perform is crushing. When you sell your soul for a platform, you have to keep dancing, even when the music stops. And the music is slowing down. The audience is getting bored. The novelty is wearing off. And desperation is a dangerous cologne. It makes people rash. It makes them risky. And risk is exactly what the palace is counting on. They know that sooner or later, the desperate make mistakes. Suddenly, a shift in the narrative, a pivot to reconciliation. Don't believe it. It's a Trojan horse. You don't reconcile after scorching the earth unless you need something. What do they need? Money? Status? Protection? Or is it a way back in because the air outside is getting too cold? The sudden olive branches feel brittle. They feel staged. It's a play for public sympathy. Look, we tried. They rejected us. It sets the stage for the next victimhood tour. But the public is getting wise. The boy who cried wolf can only cry so many times before the village stops listening. But what if the palace says yes? That is the nightmare scenario for the loyalists. If the door is opened even a crack, the chaos returns. It would be seen as weakness, as a surrender. The internal factions would explode. There are people inside the firm who would rather abdicate than see a return. The lines are drawn in blood. To cross them is to declare war on your own supporters. The king is caught in the impossible bind of a father versus a monarch, the heart versus the crown, and the crown must always win. That is the rule. That is the curse. There is a rumor of a recorded conversation, a tape. It's the kind of thing that ends careers. A moment of unguarded honesty where the mask came off completely. Maybe it was a slur. Maybe it was an admission of a plot. Maybe it was just pure, unadulterated hatred. If that tape exists, and if it leaks, it is game over. No amount of Oprah interviews can fix a hot mic moment. It is the sword of Damocles hanging by a thread, and the thread is fraying. The media blackout in certain quarters is telling. When the tabloids go quiet, be afraid. It means the lawyers have sent letters. It means an injunction is in play. It means the story is so big, so litigious, that they are triple-checking every source before they hit publish. The silence is the calm before the tsunami. The dam is holding back a reservoir of scandal, but the water is rising. You can see the leaks springing up, little trickles of truth that hint at the deluge to come. The betrayal isn't just internal, it's international. Political figures are getting involved. Visas are being questioned. Immigration status is being scrutinized. Did someone lie on a federal form? Did someone pull strings? If the government gets involved, this stops being a celebrity gossip story and starts being a federal case. Deportation, revocation, it sounds extreme, but the law is the law, and no title protects you from perjury. The stakes have just gone global. We need to talk about the invisible hand. The PR firms, the crisis management teams, they are the ones writing the scripts. But lately, the scripts are clashing. One day it's we want privacy, the next it's a paparazzi walk in a parking lot. The inconsistency screams chaos. It screams a loss of control. The team is fracturing. Advisors are quitting. When the rats jump off the ship, you know it's taking on water. And the captain is refusing to look at the hole in the hull. And through it all, the ghost of the past haunts every move. The constant comparisons. The channeling of a tragic icon. It has shifted from tribute to cosplay. It feels exploitative, using a dead woman's memory as a shield against criticism. It makes people uncomfortable. It feels like emotional grave robbing. And the public is starting to recoil. You can only play the history repeating itself card so many times before people realize you are the one holding the pen, writing the history. The ultimate twist might come from the most unexpected place. A staff member, a nanny, a personal assistant, the invisible people who see everything. The NDA culture is strong, but the truth is stronger. And sometimes the truth pays better than a salary. All it takes is one person who feels mistreated, one person who was yelled at one too many times, one person who decided enough is enough. The palace papers could be written by a chauffeur, and that is the terrifying reality for the rich and famous. You are only as safe as your unhappiest employee. Let's re-examine the freedom they sought. Does this look like freedom? Constantly suing newspapers, constantly checking headlines, constantly fighting battles? It looks like a prison of their own making. A prison of ego. They escaped a structured duty for a chaotic celebrity. And celebrity is a cruel mistress. She demands constant feeding, constant drama, constant conflict. They traded dignity for likes, and likes don't keep you warm at night when the world turns against you. The countdown has begun. We are moving towards a specific event. A jubilee, a coronation, a birthday? No, a court date. The ultimate arena. No scripts, no edits, just sworn testimony. That is where the fantasy dies. Under oath, you cannot speak in word salads. You have to answer yes or no, and yes or no is the enemy of the spin doctor. They are terrified of the witness stand, and they should be, because the truth has a nasty habit of coming out when the penalty for lying is jail. Is there a way back? Is redemption possible? In Hollywood, maybe. In London, never. The bridge isn't just burned, the ashes have been scattered. The narrative of the prodigal son doesn't work when the son is still throwing stones at the house. The tragedy is absolute, a family broken, a legacy tarnished, a nation divided. And for what? For a podcast, for a reality show, for a fleeting moment of feeling heard? The cost was too high, and the bill is coming due. So, here is the new question, the one that changes everything. What if the ultimate leak, the one that destroys it all, doesn't come from the staff, or the palace, or the press? What if it comes from him? What if the prince wakes up? What if the fog clears? What if he realizes he has been the architect of his own destruction? The most dangerous person in this story isn't the villain, it's the victim who suddenly realizes they have been played. If he turns, the whole house of cards collapses. And that brings us to the edge, the cliffhanger. Reports are coming in of a solo trip, a bag packed, a destination undisclosed. Is it a break or is it a breakup? Is this the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning? The silence from Montecito is deafening tonight. The lights are on, but is anyone home or has the bird finally flown the coop? We are watching a slow-motion car crash and we cannot look away. The wreckage is going to be spectacular. The fallout will be radioactive, and you are sitting in the front row. Do not blink. Do not look away, because the truth is coming, and it is going to hurt. This isn't just a story. This is history collapsing in real time, and we will be here to pick up every single piece